Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode where we talk about all things English learning. Today, we're diving into something super important to expanding your vocabulary naturally.
That's right. Learning new words doesn't have to be boring or feel like cramming for an exam. There are ways to do it that feel effortless and even fun.
So, if you've ever struggled with remembering new words or felt stuck using the same ones over and over, this episode is for you. Let's get started.
One of the best ways to expand your vocabulary is through immersion. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. Listen to music, watch movies, and read books in English. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more words you will naturally pick up.
Absolutely. And don't just passively consume content. Be active about it. If you hear a new word in a TV show, pause for a moment, look it up, and try using it in a sentence right away. The key is to make the word meaningful to you.
That's a great tip. Another thing that works really well is reading different types of materials. If you only read textbooks, your vocabulary will be quite limited. But if you explore novels, newspapers, blogs, or even social media posts, you will start to see how words are used in different contexts.
Right, and don't underestimate the power of speaking. Sometimes, learners focus too much on memorizing words but never actually use them. Try to incorporate new words into your daily conversations, even if you're just speaking to yourself.
And if you're worried about forgetting words, keeping a vocabulary journal can be really helpful. Write down new words, their meanings, and example sentences. Even better, use them in your daily writing, whether it's journaling, texting a friend, or posting on social media.
Speaking of practice, have you tried word associations? Connecting a new word to an image, a personal memory, or even a synonym makes it easier to remember. For example, if you learn the word serene, you might think of a peaceful lake or a quiet morning, making the word stick in your mind.
I love that. And let's not forget about word families. When you learn one word, try learning its related words. For instance, if you learn create, also learn creative, creation, and creativity. This way, you get multiple words for the effort of learning just one.
Great point. Another fun way to build vocabulary naturally is through storytelling. Try making up short stories using new words, or even retelling a story you know while swapping in new vocabulary. It helps with retention and creativity.
And if you're into games, word games like Scrabble, crosswords, or even apps like Duolingo and Anki can make learning feel less like studying and more like fun.
There are so many ways to grow your vocabulary naturally, and the best method is the one that works for you. Keep experimenting, keep practicing, and most importantly, enjoy the process.
And another powerful technique is shadowing. You listen to native speakers and repeat what they say, trying to match their pronunciation and intonation. This not only improves your speaking skills, but also helps you remember new words effortlessly.
Yes, and if you want to go even further, try paraphrasing. Take a sentence you hear or read and say it in your own words using different vocabulary. For example, if you read the weather is pleasant today, you could say, "It's such a lovely day outside."
That's a brilliant way to reinforce learning. Another thing that's often overlooked is using collocations, words that naturally go together. Instead of just learning make and decision separately, learn make a decision as a phrase. It'll make your speech sound more natural.
Exactly, and to really make new words stick, personal connection is key. When you learn a new word, try to link it to a personal experience. If you learn the word breathtaking, think of a time when you saw a stunning view that took your breath away.
Right, and let's not forget about consistency. Learning vocabulary isn't about memorizing hundreds of words in one day. It's about gradually incorporating them into your daily life. Even just 5 new words a day can lead to a massive improvement over time.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you use the language, the more natural it becomes. So keep practicing, keep exploring, and enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. And let's talk about another fun way to expand your vocabulary: reading fiction. When you read novels, especially ones written in natural, conversational English, you get exposed to new words in context. Plus, stories help you remember words because they're tied to emotions and events.
Yes, and audiobooks are fantastic too. You can listen to a book while reading along. This way, you're reinforcing pronunciation and meaning at the same time. It's like getting a double benefit listening and reading combined. Speaking of using new words, one trick I love is keeping a vocabulary journal. Every time you come across a new word, write it down with an example sentence. Then, challenge yourself to use that word in a conversation the next day.
That's such a good habit. And if you want to make it even more interactive, use flashcards with apps like Anki or Quizlet. You can create your own decks and review words regularly so they stay fresh in your mind.
Another way to make vocabulary stick is to group words into themes. For example, if you're learning words about travel, learn related terms like itinerary, destination, sightseeing, and passport together. This helps create connections between words, making them easier to remember.
And let's not forget about the power of speaking. Even if you're learning alone, try talking to yourself in English or thinking in English throughout the day. Narrate what you're doing, like, "I'm making coffee now," or "I need to send an email." It helps reinforce words in a natural way.
Yes, and if you have a language partner, that's even better. Having real conversations, even if they're short, helps you remember vocabulary in a way that's much more effective than just memorizing lists.
Exactly. The key is to use the words as much as possible, whether in writing, speaking, or even just in your thoughts. The more you engage with English, the faster your vocabulary will grow.
And here's something interesting: learning synonyms and related words can help you sound more natural. Instead of always saying happy, try using words like joyful, cheerful, or content. This makes your speech more varied and expressive.
That's a great point. And phrasal verbs are another big one. English speakers use them all the time, but they can be tricky for learners. Instead of saying continue, we often say carry on instead of cancel. We say call off. Learning these will make your English sound much more fluent.
Oh yes, phrasal verbs are essential, and another fun way to expand vocabulary is through idioms. If you say, "It's raining cats and dogs," you're not literally talking about animals falling from the sky, but native speakers will know exactly what you mean.
That's the beauty of idioms. They add personality to your speech. And guess what? Watching TV shows and movies is one of the best ways to pick them up. If you hear a phrase you don't understand, pause, look it up, and try using it yourself.
Exactly, and speaking of entertainment, music is another powerful tool. Song lyrics are packed with useful expressions. Try singing along, writing down new words, and even translating lyrics into your native language to understand them better.
That's a fun way to learn. And let's not forget, you don't always have to study alone. Join online forums, participate in discussion groups, or find an English-speaking club in your area. The more you use the language, the faster you'll grow your vocabulary.
Absolutely, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. Every mistake is a chance to learn something new. The more you experiment with words, the more confident you'll become.
Couldn't agree more. Learning vocabulary should be fun, engaging, and part of your daily life. The key is consistency. Keep exposing yourself to new words. Keep practicing. And before you know it, you'll be expressing yourself with ease.
And another great technique is storytelling. Try making up short stories using the new words you've learned. For example, if you've just learned words like adventure, mystery, and unexpected, create a fun little story around them. This helps reinforce vocabulary in context.
That's such a creative idea. And even better, you can write a daily journal in English. It doesn't have to be long, just a few sentences about your day. By doing this, you naturally start using new words in a personal way, which helps you remember them better.
Yes, writing is a great way to internalize new vocabulary. And don't forget about speaking. Talking to yourself in English is totally fine. Describe what you're doing, what you see around you, or even have imaginary conversations. It's a simple way to keep practicing.
That's right. And let's not overlook the importance of reading. Books, news articles, blogs, whatever interests you. When you read, you absorb new words naturally, and over time, you start recognizing patterns in how words are used.
Definitely. And if you don't understand a word, don't just skip over it. Try guessing its meaning from the context before checking the dictionary. This helps you develop a natural intuition for the language.
Oh, and another trick: use flashcards. Apps like Anki or Quizlet can help you review words regularly so you don't forget them. Repetition is key when it comes to expanding your vocabulary.
Exactly. And if you want to go a step further, try the shadowing technique. Listen to native speakers and repeat what they say, imitating their pronunciation and intonation. It's an amazing way to pick up new words and improve fluency at the same time.
That's a fantastic method. And don't forget, you don't have to learn every word at once. Focus on useful words first, ones you actually use in daily life, then gradually build up from there.
Absolutely, it's all about making English a part of your everyday routine. The more you surround yourself with the language, the more natural it will feel.
And let's not forget the power of conversations. If you have the chance to speak with native speakers or other English learners, grab that opportunity. Real conversations challenge you to use the vocabulary you've learned in a natural way.
That's a great point. And even if you don't have a language partner, you can still practice by recording yourself speaking. Pick a topic, set a timer, and just talk. When you listen back, you'll notice words you repeat too often or areas where you can improve.
That's a brilliant self-learning technique. Another fun way to build vocabulary is to explore synonyms and antonyms. Instead of always using good, try fantastic, wonderful, or brilliant. This makes your speech more interesting and varied.
Yes, and idioms and phrasal verbs are also key. Native speakers use them all the time, so learning expressions like kick off for starting something or run out of for finishing a supply can really boost your fluency.
Exactly. And another tip, connect new words to emotions or memories. If a word reminds you of a funny or personal moment, you're more likely to remember it.
That's a fantastic trick. The more personal a word feels, the more it sticks in your mind. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake is a learning opportunity.
100%. The most important thing is to keep going, keep experimenting, and enjoy the process. Learning vocabulary shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel like unlocking new ways to express yourself.
Absolutely. And another great way to expand your vocabulary naturally is through storytelling. Try creating short stories using new words. It forces you to connect the vocabulary in a meaningful way, and you're more likely to remember it because of the context.
That's a fantastic idea. Plus, you can make it even more interactive by writing a short paragraph, then challenging yourself to rewrite it using different synonyms or expressions. This will help reinforce your learning and make your writing more dynamic.
Yes, and speaking of writing, journaling is another powerful tool. If you write about your day, your thoughts, or even things you've learned, you're constantly using and reinforcing new words.
That's true. And to make it even more effective, try using the words in different forms. If you learn the word excited, challenge yourself to also use exciting or excitement in your journal entries.
Exactly that way. You're not just memorizing words in isolation, but actually understanding how they fit into sentences naturally.
And don't forget to mix it up. Learning words from different sources like movies, books, podcasts, and even social media keeps things interesting and ensures you're exposed to various styles of English.
Yes, and you can also set small goals, like learning 5 new words a day and using them in a sentence. Small, consistent efforts really add up over time.
That's the key: consistency. The more you expose yourself to English, the more natural it will feel. And before you know it, you'll be using new words without even thinking about it.
Absolutely. And if you want to make it even more engaging, try learning vocabulary through music. Listen to songs, read the lyrics, and try to understand the meaning of new words in context. Singing along also helps with pronunciation and rhythm.
That's a great point. And if you're into movies or TV shows, you can turn on subtitles to catch new words and phrases. Once you get comfortable, try watching without subtitles and see how much you understand.
Yes, and speaking of TV shows, choosing series with everyday conversations like sitcoms can really help you learn natural expressions, slang, and idioms. Shows like Friends or The Office are great for that.
Totally. And if you come across a phrase or expression you don't understand, write it down and look it up later. You can even try using it in your own conversations.
Right. Another fun way to expand your vocabulary is by joining online forums or social media groups where people discuss topics you enjoy. That way, you naturally pick up new words while engaging in conversations.
That's so true. And don't be afraid to interact. Commenting, posting, and chatting with native speakers will help reinforce what you learn.
Exactly. The key is to enjoy the process. When learning is fun and engaging, it doesn't feel like studying, it just becomes a part of your everyday life.
Absolutely. And if you want to take it a step further, try writing short daily journal entries in English. It could be about your day, your thoughts, or even a summary of something interesting you learned. The more you write, the more naturally new vocabulary will come to you.
That's a great tip. And if you're not sure whether your sentences are correct, you can use language learning apps or even ask for feedback from native speakers online. There are plenty of language exchange platforms where people are happy to help.
Yes, and don't underestimate the power of reading. Books, articles, and blogs in English expose you to different styles of writing and help you pick up words in their natural context.
Definitely, I always recommend starting with something enjoyable like a novel in a genre you love, or even comic books. If it's interesting, you'll stay motivated to read more.
And speaking of motivation, setting small vocabulary goals can really help. For example, you could aim to learn 5 new words every day and use them in sentences.
Oh, I love that idea. And to make it stick, try explaining the words to someone else. Teaching is one of the best ways to remember what you've learned.
That's so true. And another tip, don't stress too much about knowing every word. The key is to understand the overall meaning. Even native speakers don't know every word they hear, but they can figure things out from context.
Yes, context is everything. And the more you expose yourself to English in different situations through reading, listening, speaking, and writing, the more naturally your vocabulary will grow.
Exactly. And one thing that really helps is associating new words with images or real-life situations. For example, if you learn the word breeze, imagine feeling a gentle breeze on your face instead of just memorizing the definition.
Oh, I love that. It's like making a mental connection so the word sticks better. Another fun trick is using synonyms and antonyms. If you learn happy, try remembering joyful and cheerful along with sad as its opposite.
That's brilliant. It expands your vocabulary quickly without making it feel overwhelming. And let's not forget about music and movies. They're packed with useful expressions and everyday phrases.
Right, I used to watch films with subtitles in English first, then turn them off when I felt more confident. It's a great way to absorb natural speech patterns and slang.
And for those who love music, learning song lyrics is a fantastic way to pick up new words. Singing along helps with pronunciation too.
Absolutely. Plus, lyrics often repeat words, so they get stuck in your head. It's like effortless learning.
Exactly. And speaking of repetition, reading books or articles on topics you enjoy can reinforce vocabulary naturally. The more you see a word in different contexts, the more familiar it becomes.
Yes, I've noticed that when I read, I pick up new words effortlessly. And sometimes, I don't even need to look up their meanings, I just understand them from the surrounding sentences.
That's called learning through context. It's a powerful way to build vocabulary without relying too much on dictionaries. Speaking of which, using a monolingual English dictionary instead of translating everything can also be a game changer.
Oh, definitely. When you read definitions in English, you train your brain to think in English rather than constantly switching between languages. It makes learning feel more natural.
And you know what else helps? Writing. Keeping a journal, writing short stories, or even posting on social media in English forces you to use new words and solidify them in your memory.
That's true. And even if you make mistakes, it's okay. The important thing is to use the language. Plus, having a native speaker or a friend correct your mistakes can be really helpful.
Exactly. The more you use a word, the more it becomes part of your active vocabulary. And don't forget to practice speaking too. Even if you don't have someone to talk to, you can still think out loud or record yourself.
I do that sometimes. I describe what I'm doing, like, I'm making a cup of tea or I'm getting ready to go out. It feels silly at first, but it really helps.
That's a great habit. The key is consistency. Learning vocabulary naturally takes time, but if you keep exposing yourself to English every day, you will see amazing progress.
And another thing I've noticed, learning words in groups or phrases helps a lot. Instead of just learning make, I learn make a decision, make an effort, or make sense. That way, I know exactly how to use it.
That's so smart. Learning collocations like that makes speaking sound more natural. Plus, when you learn a phrase instead of a single word, you don't have to think so hard about grammar. The words just flow together.
Yes, and idioms too. At first, I avoided them because they seemed difficult. But now I realize that they make English more fun. Like break the ice or hit the nail on the head. They make conversations more colorful.
Absolutely. And when you watch movies or listen to native speakers, you'll notice idioms all the time. Even slang is useful if you want to sound more natural.
True, I used to be scared of making mistakes, but now I just try to enjoy learning. The more relaxed I am, the more I remember.
That's the perfect mindset. English isn't about perfection, it's about communication. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Keep going, and soon you'll be speaking without even thinking about it.
Exactly, and honestly, the more I expose myself to English, the more natural it feels. It's not about memorizing endless lists of words, it's about using them in real life.
That's the key. Learning English is a journey, not a race. The best way to improve is to enjoy the process, make mistakes, and keep going.
Yes, so, to anyone out there learning English, don't stress too much. Find what works for you, whether it's reading, watching movies, or chatting with friends. Every little step counts.
And remember, you're not alone. We all struggle sometimes, but that's part of learning. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Well said, Jake. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
See you soon. Keep learning and keep growing.
Bye.